Hey there folks, Scott Travis here, Scott Travis Sports News Update, and here's my wrap-up of the Bruins-Canadiens second-round Stanley Cup playoff series, which the Canadiens won 4-3 and 7 games, 3-1 last night at the Garden. It's been almost 24 hours, and obviously as a diehard fan, like most of Bruins Nation, we're still really upset. And I'm going to tell you today, I'm more upset at the Bruins than anything else, so let me just get into my video. I want to give a shout out to all the Bruins chat groups and all the NHL fans I've been chatting with, even you Habs fans. Basically, you watch this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know I'm a Bruins fan. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to give props to you Canadians, your team, and I'm going to tear apart the Bruins for what they didn't do in this series. So stay tuned. Here it is. Okay, well, here we go. We're heading into Game 7. Now, I just rewatched my Game 7 preview video, and, you know, I think I spelled out what the Bruins needed to do. And they still couldn't do it. They still made too many mistakes. But first, like I said, I just want to say, I have to say it, and believe me, this pains me to say it. I have to give credit to the Montreal Canadiens. You outplayed us. You played better hockey in the series. You deserve to win the series. There, I said it. I don't like saying it, but I'm going to tell you. You played better than us in all 7 games. And inexplicably, you outplayed us in Games 6 and 7. And I don't know. But, you know, it's not your fault that we played bad. I mean, maybe you were responsible for making us play bad, but you guys played a good game, and you won the series, and you're moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I guess we'll find out what happens from here. But, again, Canadians, I got to give you credit, and I hate to do it. I really hate to do it. But you came in, you're not afraid of the Bruins, and I think that was an advantage you had over any other team that the Bruins were going to play in this postseason. Is the Montreal Canadiens, you hate us enough, or you know us from divisional fights and wars over the years, and it also works in your favor that we get completely off our game. The Bruins just, I don't know what it is. We play right into whatever it is, and, you know, it just works out. But bottom line, Canadians outworked the Bruins every game, outplayed them, played with more intensity, played with urgency, played like they haven't won a cup in a while and they want to win. Bruins, I don't know. We'll talk about them in a minute. But you played solid team defense. Carey Price was solid in net, may have outplayed Rask if you get down to the stats, you know, but was solid. Certainly didn't lose you anything, and, you know, was not negligent in net at all. Solid goaltender, and you guys have a shot at moving on. You're going to have a good matchup with the Rangers, and we'll talk about that later. But Carey Price, solid in net, and the Canadiens took advantage of every Bruin mistake. The Bruins made a mistake in the early going, coughed the puck up, bang, the puck ended up in the net. That's what they did. The Bruins, on the other hand, didn't do that. Didn't take advantage of mistakes, missed nets, whatever. We'll talk about the Bruins later, because I'm going to go off on them. But Canadiens took advantage. Michel Therrien, I wasn't a big fan of him as a coach, but it looks like him and his staff outcoached Claude Julien and his staff, because the Canadiens shut down the Bruins' lines. Nobody really got it going. Like, even in Game 7 last night, the Bruins really didn't play much until the end of the first and second period. They played a few minutes here and there, and then they played a good third period. But that's it. I mean, I would have expected the Bruins to do more. And again, I think that's more on them. But again, credit to the Canadiens for just playing a good swarming defense. When somebody on the Bruins had a puck, there was guys on them. There was people covered. They didn't leave anybody open in front of the net. You know, they didn't go too crazy with the cheap shots and stuff. There was some of that. We know, of course, that's how it's going to be involved in this series, especially with these two teams that hate one another. But, you know, pretty good hockey by Montreal. And certainly, you know, I'm not going to say they got lucky. I'm not going to say that, because each of the 7 games they controlled. And in fact, I'm surprised it actually went 7, because Montreal did carry the play. It did have the lead for so much of the series. So credit to the Bruins a little bit for showing a little heart and making it actually a 7-game series. But, you know, again, Montreal, good job. You found a way to outplay us. And the Bruins technically coming in were a better team. Now, you'll say, no, the better team won Montreal. No, technically, Montreal wasn't the better team, but they played better than the better team and won, so you get props for that. It's even better to say that you beat the better team. Believe me, it is. But that's it. You're only halfway there. You're 8 wins towards 16. You got 2 more series to go. So, you know, you don't get too excited, because you Canadian fans, you get so excited. You haven't won the Stanley Cup yet. You're only heading for the Eastern Finals. You got 8 more wins to get, and they're not easy to do. Okay, they're not easy. So don't get too carried away. And then you got Henrik Lundqvist, who just shut down the Penguins and won 3 in a row versus them. So the Rangers are trouble for anybody. So it remains to be seen. We'll see how that series plays out. We'll see how far the Canadiens go. All right, so that's my kudos to the Canadiens. All right. I had a whole sheet on that, by the way. All right, Bruins. Besides not watching my videos and listening to anything I was saying, hello? I'm kidding, but I mean, Christ, you didn't do anything I said in any of the videos, and you lost the series, so I'm going to throw that in there. But there's no excuse. There's no excuse for a lack of effort. There's no excuse to not have urgency. How did you go into Montreal in Game 6 and just do nothing? The Bruins did nothing in that game. How do you do that? I'm sorry. I don't understand. As a former hockey player, or still play here and there, and as a ref, and somebody's been around hockey my whole life, I never went out on the ice and wasn't fired up to play. I don't get it. I literally don't understand that. I don't know how you can't be ready to play in an NHL playoff game. When just singing the national anthems, I'd be out ready to kill somebody. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about me. But there's no excuse, Bruins. Really. You got outplayed. The Canadiens were not as good as you coming into the series. Now, you know, they can boast that they're better, whatever. We talked about that. But you should have beaten the Canadiens. The fact that you didn't show up, really, and play well, and you had no urgency, and you allowed them to control you and play good hockey, again, they played well. But you didn't come up with anything. You didn't change anything. And that goes to Claude and the coaching staff. Not enough mixing the lines. Not enough trying different things. I mean, Soderberg was your best player in the playoffs. What was he doing still on the third line? I would have just do what Chicago does, Claude. Put Bergeron or Krejci together with Soderberg for a few shifts, just to stir it up. See what happens. Make Montreal look at a different look. Nope, didn't do that. The most we did was move Frazier and Payet from third and fourth line left wing. That's not the kind of coaching you need when you're in a series and a team is totally shutting you down. You need to say, okay, we could keep telling our players to play better, but when they can't or they just aren't, then we got to change things. You got to scratch somebody. You got to add somebody to the lineup. You got to shake things up. Maybe they could have moved Krug up. I don't know, but I just didn't feel like we got enough coaching out of that. The officiating, I have to mention it, folks, and I don't want to make this sound like I'm a sore loser, and it does sound like it, but the officiating was horrendous. And not just in this series, and not just last night, we'll get to that in a second, but the whole postseason has been horrible and ridiculous. And I wonder why Dave Jackson, who's a Montreal native, just for the appearance of whatever, why the hell was he assigned to the game? Just like Chris Rooney, even though he punishes the Bruins because he's a Boston guy, he shouldn't be assigned when the Bruins play. Nobody from Montreal should be reffing a game that involves Montreal. That's just my feeling. I'm sorry. Just so that it's just not even something that comes up. But the officials in Game 7, my God. Sure, Brad Marchand has a bad reputation, but he gets cross-checked in the neck by Andrei Markov. The ref apparently was probably looking up ice, and all he saw was he saw Marchand taking out Price. He said, oh, he ran into him. Hello, I've been an official now for 15 years. I've been an ice hockey official. You know what I do if I look over and I'm not sure what happened? I don't call anything. Because if I didn't see what happened, the worst thing I can do is guess. I'm not going to guess. Or if I look at a situation, it looks like a stick's being held, but it could be a poke, like what happened with Krejci. You look at it and you try and figure it out and you say, you know what? He jabbed him and he grabbed his stick. So you either call them both or you don't call anything. You don't guess. You don't pick a side. You don't say, oh, it's Marchand coming in. Now, Marchand, again, his other penalty was, if it wasn't Marchand, does he get the call for snow on the goalie? He comes racing in. Price covers the puck. He kind of stops and kind of backs off, and he gets a call? What kind of official is calling that in a Game 7? Okay, again, back to me officiating. If I'm reffing a championship game, I tell the team right out, both teams, I'm not deciding the game. Go win the game. And usually you get a pretty well-played game. Guys play it close to the vest. You say, if you do something stupid, I'm going to call you. And you get it. The best hockey NHL playoff game ever officiated was Game 7, Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning, 2011. There were no penalties called, and it was one of the best hockey games of all time. The Bruins won 1-0 in overtime, or with a late goal, actually. But my point is, what the hell were the referees doing calling penalties in a Game 7? I had a big problem with that. Stay out of the way. Let the two teams win. Let them win, because why am I talking about the officiating? Because they actually got themselves involved. They put themselves in the game. What are you doing? What are you doing? And Chara and Pacioretty scrapping in the corner. Pacioretty hooks onto him, grabs him down and won't let him up, hooks his leg. That's not matching penalties. That's either nothing or a penalty on Pacioretty. If you don't know how to handle that, don't call anything. You don't make shit up. You don't guess. Like, oh, Marchand took out the goalie. Let's call that. All right. Anyway, I'm done with the officiating. You know, you guys, I was consistent with that the whole playoffs. I'm watching all the other series. It's just as bad. It's really horrible. And I don't know what's going on. It almost makes it look fixed, which I hate to say. But the officiating is that bad that it's starting to make people question, what the hell's going on? stay out of the way. A Game 7 shouldn't have been half the calls should have been made, especially the 2 on Marchand. And you not only get it wrong, where the Bruins were just starting to get something going, and instead of we get a power play because Marchand got cross-checked in the head, instead we're shorthanded, there goes the momentum. Just saying. That's how officiating can affect a game and a series. But anyway, that's not the Bruins' biggest problem. Trust me, I got a whole list here. If you want to hear what I have to think about what the Bruins need to do, listen up. Okay, the Bruins' top players did not get the job done. Okay, and people are really heavy on Krejci, but Krejci got no help. Ginla now is just an older, crash the net, redirect guy, like he got the goal, that's nice. But he's not going to be somebody to feed up the wing and he's going to rip a shot from the wing, and that's not who he is anymore. He was kind of that, he's a Hall of Fame player, great hockey player. I was happy he was on the team. I don't have anything bad to say, but Krejci's playing with him on the right and Lucic on the left. Lucic can't handle the puck. He's slow as molasses, whatever he does. His game is crutching the defenseman and camping out in front. And Krejci would come over the line, he would try to pass. So what I'm thinking for that next year is get Krejci some line mates who can actually fly. Maybe they're equal to his skill level, handling the puck, shooting, whatever. Find some people who he could play with. And the same for Bergeron. I mean, Brad Marchand, you're another main player. No goals in the last 20 playoff games. None this year at all in the playoffs. None. Not one goal. You had a chance right in front of Carey Price, and you didn't even hit anything. You were standing less than 6 feet out in the slot. Now, I mean, we shot way too many shots at the CH on Price's sweater, and he made some big saves. He was good with the glove. He had some blockers. I mean, Price played good. It wasn't his fault we kept missing the net. I mean, the Bruins were trying to get too cute, and maybe we don't have the skill to hit those shots that go in off the crossbar, like a Malkin or somebody like that on Pittsburgh would do. We don't have that skill. So when we ran into a situation where we had to ring the post or get it, just inside, couldn't do it. We didn't have guys who could hit the net. Louis Eriksson, the poor bastard. How many posts? I mean, I don't know. I'm willing to give Louis a fresh start next year. He had 2 major hits to the head this year. So the fact that he was even effective in any way, shape, or form is a credit to him. The fact that he came back and he was pretty effective. So I'm willing to give Louis a pass. But the whole first line, Lucic, I mean, like I said, I think it was more of Krejci was brought down by his wingers. I think he needs better players. I think, and that's where I was talking, like, put a super line together, Claude. If you're down 2-1 in the third, where we were, put your 3 or 4 best guys together out there. Mix it up. Mix it up. Sit some players. It's called coaching, and we didn't see it from Claude. So hopefully Claude learns from this. He learned on the way to the 2011 Stanley Cup final. But let's hope he learns from it this time. Too many mistakes. I brought it up earlier. Matt Bartkowski. I mean, you gave us no chance to win. You didn't get the puck in deep, and then they come in right in the corner, and you don't cover Dale Weiss at all. I mean, no fault of Tuukka on that. I mean, you didn't cover it. You did nothing right on that play. And I think maybe I've seen enough of Matt Bartkowski. I'm just saying that. Kevin Miller was young. It was his first playoffs. He's an older guy, but he still hasn't played a lot of NHL. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, Kevin Miller, because he was pretty solid. He got caught. I mean, the speedy Canadiens, you got to give them credit. They played fast, and they made the Bruins make mistakes, too. It wasn't just the Bruins had their head up their ass, which they did, but the Canadiens forced the turnovers, too. So, again, I'm giving Montreal a lot of credit here. But we can't. The other thing we didn't have to finish. We need to finish. Ginla. Post again. I mean, bad luck. It's bad luck hurts. I mean, you can't win if you're not lucky. I firmly believe that. The Bruins, and somebody said, oh, what were the Bruins lucky in 2011? Of course they were. They won the Stanley Cup. You have to be lucky to win. You have to be. And when you're not lucky, I mean, the Bruins, in the big scheme of things, they didn't play hard, and in the hockey god world, they didn't deserve to win. But they didn't catch a break at all. And again, officiating, whatever. But post, whatever. But that's still missing the net when you hit the post. Anyway, Zdeno Chara. We find out he had a broken finger. I thought there was something wrong with his feet because he couldn't stay on his feet. He looked awfully slow. I don't know if he's just, he's at an age where he shouldn't be the #1 defenseman. We definitely miss Dennis Seidberg. It's too bad he wasn't able to come back. Apparently they must have ruled it would endanger him. It's too bad because if they said he would have played in the next round, I'm kind of wondering why he didn't play Game 7 because right out of the gate, Bartkowski, if that's Seidenberg instead of Bartkowski, who knows what would have happened. But hey, that's the way it is. But the Bruins need to get a #1 defenseman. You can keep Chara, keep him the captain, but you got to cut his minutes. you know, a healthy Seidenberg's going to help, but you need another solid defenseman. And that's where I'm going to get to Peter Chiarelli not doing enough at the trade deadline. We were a little too comfortable in our winning streak that he went out and just got us Mazaris. So we had to choose from Mazaris or Bartkowski. Thanks, Peter. Thanks. Thanks for that, because that didn't help us at all. We ended up having to go with Bartkowski because Mazaris wasn't good at anything, and it cost us. But anyway, let me wrap this up. You know, bottom line, Claude, hopefully he learned from this. But, you know, I don't want to sound all negative. There are positives. I have a sheet of positives. Believe me, it wasn't that easy to come up with positives. But here are my positives. Carl Soderberg is a legitimate NHL center. I think we found that out down the end of the stretch of the season in the playoffs. And the guy that can play in the playoffs, that's a guy you build around. Now, if we keep Bergeron and Krejci as our first, you know, second and first and second centers, Soderberg's a nice-looking third-line center. Let's get him some people to play with. Now, maybe it's Eriksson next year. And those two, both being Swedish, had some chemistry. We'll see how that works out. But we need a legitimate left wing on that line. I'm not talking about Jordan Caron. I don't have a whole lot of excitement about Jordan Caron. I've seen enough of him in the NHL where nothing happens when he's on the ice other than he takes a penalty. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to pick on him. I just haven't seen him do anything positive. So Carl Soderberg's a positive. Dougie Hamilton grew up a lot this year. What a difference between this year's playoffs and last year, where you were a little nervous about Dougie out there, and he was a little scared, but he really rounded it. It looks like he's kind of filling into his body. He's a tall kid, and I think Dougie Hamilton's going to be a blue-chip kid. He's a top 4. He was playing with Chara, top 2. Maybe that was a little higher than he should have been. I think the combination of Chara being a little older and Dougie being a little more inexperienced, that as our top pairing, I think ultimately that wasn't helpful. But Dougie Hamilton's a future prospect. Tuukka Rask, solid in net. You still got to answer the question if you can win us the Stanley Cup. You gave up some early game goals. You made some mistakes. You misread. You were solid. You're not the reason we lost, but we're going to need better than that from you if we're going to win the Stanley Cup. And as far as that's concerned, maybe we got to. I don't know if Chad Johnson's going to be back. I think he was only on a 1-year deal, and he had a very good season. So he may go get a starting chance somewhere else, and he could be gone. So then you look at Providence. You got Nicholas Svedberg or Malcolm Subban. Both of them are in the Providence playoffs right now. Not really. Nobody's really lighting it up. They blew a game last night with Svedberg and Knight. So I don't know if that's your competition, but I think Tuukka Rask needs to be pushed. Tim Thomas, we got the best out of him when he had lost his job to Tuukka Rask, and then he came back with a vengeance. I think we need to push Tuukka. Now, we've got a long-term commitment to him, money-wise and so forth, but you got to push the kid. You can't just let him be comfortable with being himself and not winning the cup. It's not okay, Bruins fans? We expected a lot more this year. This was a really good team. You don't win the President's Trophy and have a great season by luck. You don't luck out for the whole season. So we should have gone further than the second round. I'll just leave it at that. You know, whether it was the Eastern Finals or the Stanley Cup Finals, whatever would have happened, losing in the second round, even though, like I said, Montreal played us really well and they won the series, no doubt. That's not okay. We expect more than that. So now it's been three years since we won the cup. So now Peter Chiarelli needs to look at the roster. He needs to say, now, the guys that won that cup, the ones that are left, are they still going to be there? Are they still the guys we're going to key on to get us another cup? And like I said, with Krejci and Bergeron, I don't think that's a no-brainer. Of course they're going to be around. Brad Marchand, I'd take offers on him. If you can get something good for him. He didn't score any goals, and his reputation may have cost him a few penalties in Game 7, and that's probably going to continue going forward. Sean Thornton, another one of my fan favorites. He's going to be another year older. This year, he did the water spraying. He had the 15-game suspension. Really didn't contribute a whole lot. We always said, oh, he can play. He's a good fourth liner. I don't even know if he can do that anymore. He really was a no-show. And I kind of feel like we can do better on that right wing on the fourth line. I don't know. If they bring him back, I'm not going to be mad because I like Sean Thornton. But that's a move you got to look at, too, depending on his contract and whatever. Jerome McGinley, I'd bring him back for cheap money, but I don't think he's my first-line right winger. He could be a second or third. Maybe you put him on the third line with Eriksson and Soderberg. Maybe you got something. But that means you need a first-line right wing, and if you get rid of Marchand, you need a second-line left wing. So that's what I'm looking at. Bruins need to look at it. Peter Chiarelli needs to realize this team just played 7 bad games in a row and lost in the second round. That's all I got to say, folks. It's pretty upsetting. It's been a quiet day here. I've been just trying to calm down, you know. And, of course, I'm going to continue to watch the games all the way through. I might not do videos, but maybe I will if the situation calls for it. Maybe for the Stanley Cup, I'll do some previews. Mostly, I'll be moving on to Red Sox baseball. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you watched it this long, I'm glad you did. Thank you for following me. Bruins, get it straightened out, get it figured out in the offseason. I'll be reporting on any free agent moves, any kind of trades, anything big that they do. So stay tuned, as always, and for everything in New England sports, Scott Travis Sports News on Facebook and at Scott Travis SN on Twitter. You can follow me. I update everything. I post my own thoughts, and I update all the top stories of the day. So if you want to know what happened quick, just go to my page or my Twitter account. Thanks for watching. Go Bruins. We're disappointed. We're still fans. I'll be back next year with you, of course. And hopefully next year at this time, we'll be talking about playing in the conference finals or the Stanley Cup finals, depending on where we are at that point. Thanks for watching. Take care. And I'll be talking to you soon.